Okay, hello and good morning, everyone. Welcome to JFD Traders Espresso with me, Darius Anucauskas. Today is the 5th of November 2019. So, welcome everyone. Welcome to this Tuesday's morning session where we're going to have a quick look at the markets, a few of the charts, the usual stuff. But as always, before we do that, let's quickly have a read through our risk disclaimers. So, the content we produce does not constitute investment advice or investment recommendation, should not be considered as such, and does not in any way constitute an invitation to acquire any financial instrument or product. As always, a few seconds for you to read the rest, and we can continue. So, also just a quick mentioning of our JFD YouTube channel here, to which you can always subscribe to in order not to miss any of our upcoming videos. And of course, our JFD Bank website and specifically our JFD Research tab, which we also update on a daily basis. And I believe you can find a lot of useful stuff here for yourselves, guys. So, yep, feel free to visit us on jfdbank.com and just click on the Research tab right here. It'll take you to our page, which we, as I said, update on a daily basis. So, yep, guys, hope you like it. But right now, guys, let's jump into the charts. Now, in general, today it's somewhat of a quiet day, I would say. There's in terms of economic data releases. So, from the most important data that we've got here, we do have the UK's composite PMIs and the services PMIs. The services PMIs will probably be a little bit more interesting to see. Currently, the expectation is for the services UK services PMI to have increased just slightly. Of course, we'll see how that got on. And of course, the ISM non-manufacturing figures from the US, that's something to keep an eye on as well. Currently, the expectation for a number is to be higher than the previous, but again, let's see how that plays out. Yep, guys, of course, and then later on, like late in the evening European time, we will be getting the New Zealand employment figures, so very early Asian morning. So yep, guys, also keep your eyes on that one. But again, like I said, for today, for the European session, it's mainly the UK services PMIs, and later on then the US non-manufacturing PMI figures as well. So yep, keep your eyes on those. But in terms of the charts here, so the first one I want to touch on here is DAX. Now DAX had a fantastic run yesterday. It pushed higher. It broke above this 12,986.87 zone. Also broke above the psychological 13,000 area and kind of continued pushing higher. It's currently trading slightly above its closing price. So in a way, we could see a bit of a gap here to the upside, but it won't be above its yesterday's high. And yeah, let me just quickly put this one on the chart. So yesterday's high was around the 13,171 zone, so roughly around there. So in a way, we could see still this one pushing further north. Don't get me wrong, we do have some strong obstacles here on the way higher. So above the yesterday's high, we do have the 13,204 territory, roughly around there, and that basically marks the high of the 18th of May 2018. So we do have this strong area of resistance, and in a way, if it holds, we could see a bit of a correction here to the downside. But of course, if it gets broken, then yep, the index could in a way travel further north. We do have some obstacles here above, like the 13,370 zone, which is basically the high of the 26th. Let me just double check that, and that's roughly around the 26th of January. So basically, that 2018, of course. So for now, guys, for now, of course, it seems that it's willing to travel further up, but it would need to overcome a few of these key barriers. So in a way, what we could see happening here is we could see the index pushing a little bit higher, maybe breaking above the yesterday's high, but and testing the 13,204 zone. But if it struggles to push above it, or let's say struggles to close a daily candle above this level, then there could be a possibility to see a bit of correction here going back down. So in a way, keep your eyes on this one, guys. Keep your eyes on this idea. Don't get me wrong, we are still trading above this short-term, or should I say medium-term, upside support line taken from the low of the 15th of August. But given that how far we have traveled from this line, in a way we could see a test of that one at some point soon. So, and given the fact that the index has kind of accelerated sharply to the upside and is quite overbought, I would say, on the shorter time frame. So that's why there could be a possibility to see a bit of correction, but let's not, and we need that confirmation first. So in a way, in order for us, let's say, to consider some downside here, or at least a possible move towards this upside support line, a drop below the 12,814.15 zone would be needed, and only then we will aim for further moves lower here. We'll aim for this upside support line. But if, let's say, the pair decides not to travel all the way there and decides to correct a little bit lower here, that's possible as well. We could see something like this happening, where the pair could retrace a little bit, maybe test the 12th or test the 13,000 level, or maybe just slightly below that, the 12,986 zone, and then if it holds, have a nice rebound here from here and push to the upside again. So for now, yes, we could see a bit of a push higher. Don't get me wrong, keep your eyes on the 13,200 204 territory, which is the high of the, and let me just reconfirm that. That's basically the high of May 2018. So, yep, keep your eyes on that one. If it holds, then we could see a bit of a correction. Gold. Now, gold, it's still stuck here and still stuck roughly between these two levels. So the 1474 on the downside and the 1519 and 1520 on the upside. So we're still keeping an eye on it. We still need to see a push above the 1520 before we could get excited about higher levels. Still, the same game plan remains. In terms of the downside, short-term downside, I would say, basically, if it starts drifting, and let me just quickly put this one on the chart, if it starts drifting below this little territory right here near the 1494-95 zone, now this is where we could consider a possible move lower here towards the lower side of this range here near the which is around the 1474 zone. So that could be our initial target, but we would need to see the price falling below all of its EMAs, below the 15, of course, the 1500 level, then below the 200 EMA, and then ideally below the 1494 zone, because at this point in time it's a bit of a tricky one. It could go either way, but given that it's very close to this level, this barrier right here near the 1520, it's kind of flirting, it's kind of teasing us here. It seems that it wants to travel higher, but still cannot overcome this barrier. So we're waiting until it's going to overcome this one before we could get excited about slightly higher levels. And as I said, in terms of the downside, keep your eyes on the 1495 zone. A drop below this could in a way open the path towards slightly lower levels. DXY. So DXY had a nice reversal here recently from the, and let me just quickly mark this one on the chart, from this little level right here near the 97.1110 zone. The pair reversed, the index reversed nicely to the upside yesterday, traveled higher, but still failed to get closer, or should I say test this downside resistance line taken from the high of the 1st of October. You can see that this line continues to kind of keep keep the price down. If we get a break of this downside line, yes, that's wonderful. Good news for the buyers, but ideally we would like to see a push above the 97.90 level first before we could, let's say, get comfortable with slightly higher levels again, because here it's a bit of a tricky situation here, and I'll explain why. Because, and we've seen this happening many times, given that the index reversed from this area right here near the 97.10, so it's kind of, it was close to the lows of October, so basically the lowest point of October, so it reversed from that area, and in a way, kind of, if let's say it travels above this downside line but fails to push above the 97.90 zone and then reverses back down, we could be getting ourselves somewhat of a range here. So do not exclude this possibility. You can get easily kind of confused with this, guys. So that's why wait for a confirmation break above the 97.90, and only then you could examine slightly higher levels. In terms of the downside here, now again, if this downside line holds, we could see another drift lower here, maybe potentially a revisit of the 97.11 zone, 11 or 10. But to be honest, at this point in time here, we're going to be very careful and cautious with the downside. We're probably going to keep away from any downside moves here unless we see a drop below the 97.10. Only then we will target further decline. So that's why we're going to take a very conservative approach here in regards to the downside. So yeah, but to be honest, we'd rather be safe than sorry. AUDCAD. So AUDCAD, I talked about this one yesterday, and I was talking about this this formation here, this triangle, this pennant. So what I was saying, that even if we see a drop through the lower side of this triangle, in order to get comfortable with lower areas, initially we'll need to see a drop below the 0.9061 zone. We got that. It slid lower, but it failed to kind of remain below the 0.9045 zone, and this was the level for us to get a little bit more comfortable with further declines. And we did get a few false breakouts here, but as you can see, neither even of the 4-hour candles didn't close below this. So in a way, the pair kind of reversed back to the upside. We can get rid of this right now, so it's no longer valid. We did get our break, but what we're going to be keeping an eye on right now is a potential flag formation. Now, let me just quickly, either it will be a flag, again, because it's not really clear yet. So either it's going to be a flag, either it's going to be or it's going to end up being a falling wedge pattern here. So that's why how we could play this one out right now is we'll move our breakout point to the downside a little bit lower here. So we'll mark the lows of yesterday, and those were near the 0.9038 zone. In a way, we're gonna still keep an eye on this one. We're not going to do anything, because for us to get excited about the upside, we need to see a push above the high of last week near the 0.9120 zone, and only then we'll aim for higher levels. Even though if we see a push above this little downside resistance line, it's still a bit of a tentative one, so the pair could still stall near the 0.9120 and then reverse back to the downside. But if this gets broken, then yep, this would confirm a forthcoming higher high, and we could target higher levels. In terms of the downside, we'll wait for a drop below the yesterday's lows before examining slightly lower areas. We're not going to drag this one too much to the downside, but again, yep, guys, keep your eyes on this one. Could be quite interesting. GBPJPY, something to keep an eye on today during the services PMI figures. So hopefully this pair can move, because it has been kind of stagnant here for quite a while now, together with some other GBP pairs. And for now, we're still keeping the same levels here on our radar. In terms of the upside, we need to see not only a break of this little downside resistance line taken from the high of the 17th of October, but also a push above the 140.69 level, and only then we will target higher levels. So yep, guys, keep your eyes on those. In terms of the downside, a drop below the 139.44 zone. This is what we need here before we could aim for slightly lower areas, and then even then we'll be very careful and cautious here because at any point there are some a bunch of good areas of support here from which the pair could kind of reverse back to the upside. So that's why let's keep it careful here, guys. If we see a drop below the 139.44 zone, yes, it increases the chances of a further drift lower, but probably have your stop losses in place just in case this suddenly reverses back to the upside. So yep, keep an eye on this one. Euro USD, very quite interesting here, and this is what I was talking about yesterday. So with the Euro USD here, I mean, we had a nice move lower here. It traveled to the downside. It even broke below the 1.1127 zone here, but as you can see, it even broke below this little downside resistance line, but failed to close at least a 4-hour candle below it. So this is what we needed, and this is what we still need in order to consider further declines here. We need to see a nice, good, clear move lower below this downside resistance line. For now, it's acting once again. It's acting as a nice trampoline here for the pair. Of course, don't get me wrong. It's too early to talk about a further move higher. How you could play this one out is keep your eyes on today. Keep your eyes on today's pivot, which is roughly around the 1.1142-43 zone. If we get a push above this, then yep, it increases the chances of a move back up here towards the 1.1175 or even the 1.1183 zone. Now, but if it starts dropping below the downside line here and we get at least a close of a 4-hour candle below this downside line, then we'll start considering, let's say, further declines. Of course, ideally, we would like to see a daily close below this. Now, if we do get a daily close, then yep, this could drift a little bit lower here. We could see maybe the 1.1063 zone getting tested again, but of course that's a bit too early to talk about that. First, we need to see that another break below this downside line, and maybe we'll start considering the downside if we get a close of a 4-hour candle below this level. And if we do, then yep, we'll examine these slightly lower levels. If it pushes back above the 1.1140 or 1.1142 zone, roughly near today's pivot, then yep, we could aim for the 1.1180. But again, this 1.1180-83 is the level to watch in order to get a little bit more comfortable with higher levels in the near term. So keep your eyes on that one. Okay, guys, I hope you found it useful. Thank you very much for sticking around and watching it till the end. If you want to join me later on at my trader's tea time, as always, that's 14:15 GMT. For now, I hope you have a beautiful trading day, guys. Stay safe, have your stop loss in place, and yep, as always, keep your eyes on the price action. And yep, if you want to join me later on at my trader's tea time, 14:15 GMT, I will be happy to see you there. Thank you very much, and bye-bye.